Good morning. Welcome to the Marion County Board of Commissioners meeting. It is Wednesday, November 21st, 2018. We are in the Senator Hearing Room here at Courthouse Square. We'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to order. That was very nice. We begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to open our meeting with public comment, and Commissioner Brentano we're trying to determine how we're going to do the Oregon Garden issue. So why don't you actually say how you'd like it to go?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
No, I don't know. No, what I'd like to have is, well, if you'd introduce it, have Jane give her report from legal counsel. I have for me, a long thing, and then invite anyone who would like to make comment on it at that time, and then we'll vote. So
let me ask, is there anyone who wants to do it right now because you have to leave right away and you were hoping to do this at 9 o'clock for the pile? Are you okay waiting until? Okay, great. So is there anyone else who would like to speak under public comment on something other than the Oregon Garden? Nobody. All right. So we will move right into our consent agenda, and I am
Madam Chair.
Okay, Commissioner
We already figured that out before you arrived today.
All right, well, good for you.
So, Madam Chair, I'll move the consent calendar under Board of Commissioners OLCC applications. Recommended approval for the Tiki Lounge Bar and Grill in Salem, Oregon. Approve an order revising Administrative Policy 201, placing business before the Board of Commissioners, and revised Policy 601, Public Officials Ethics. Under Business Services, approve a recommendation to uphold pay grade for classification number 190, County Emergency Manager. Recommendation to adjust upward pay grade for classification number 701, Property Specialist. Number 360, Benefits and Risk Manager. Number 655, Management Analyst 1. Number 656, Management Analyst 2. Number 665, Administrative Division Manager. Also under Business Services, approve an order reappointing Commissioner Sam Brentano and Mitch Teal to the Mid-Willamette Valley Area Commission on Transportation, MWAC, with terms ending December 31st, 2020. Under Business Services, approve an order adopting Policy 518, Drug and Alcohol-Free Workplace. Under Community Services, approve an order appointing Paige Clarkston to the Marion County Children and Families Commission. Under Health and Human Services, approve Amendment Number 12 to the Intergovernmental Agreement for Financing Public Health and the Oregon Health Authority, adding $42,887 for a total of $5,492,417. Approve Amendment Number 13 to the Intergovernmental Agreement for Financing Public Health with the Oregon Health Authority, adding $4,000 for a total of $5,496,417. Under Public Works, approve an order appointing Joe Fowler and Judy Skinner to the Solid Waste Management Advisory Council, SWAMAC, for terms ending December 31st, 2022. That's why I had to take a break. Under Public Works, schedule final consideration to adopt administrative ordinance granting zone change comprehensive plan amendment conditional use ZCCPCU case 18-001 McCallum Powder LLC on November 28, 2018. Also under Public Works, receive a notice of hearings officer's decision approving conditional use CU case 18-018 Fruitland Creek. Also under Public Works, approve an order authorizing the joint purchase of real property by Marion County and the City of Salem at 295 Church Street Southeast, addressed 575 Trade Street Southeast, Units C1 and C2. And finally, under the Sheriff's Office, approve Amendment Number 2 to the contract for services with Health Care Services LLC for adding funding for a total of $151,000 for temporary medical staff.
I'll second the motion.
think you set it up so that you had
Yes, it
the
was
long ones
rather
straight.
well thought out.
Right. So we have a motion and a second for all of these items. Any discussion on any of them? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All right, all of those items are approved. Let's move into our action items. We have 4 items, but the finance item will actually be acted on after the public hearing. So we'll skip over that one and hear that on or after 9:30. So under business services, we have consider approval of the public improvement agreement with TS Gray Construction LLC in the amount of $6,205,000 for the Juvenile Services Building Project. And Colleen Coons-Chafins is here. Morning.
Good morning. Colleen Kunsch-Chafins, Business Services Director.
Kevin Burton, Construction Project Coordinator.
Good morning. This morning we're here to ask you to consider the approval of our public improvement agreement with TS Gray Construction for the Juvenile Administration Building. The Business Services Department, we published an invitation to bid at the end of August for a bid on a new juvenile services building, as we're going to be calling it. And on Center Street, we received 7 bids in that, and TS Gray was determined to be the lowest bid. We did a thorough review of contractors board and reference checks, and we all talked with a couple of colleagues regarding them, and they were the responsible bidder. Actually, I'd like to introduce them real quickly if I could. Bob Gray, the owner of the firm. Tony Sehor is not here, and AJ is also the project manager. He'll be on the project team, as well as Troy Gregg, Todd Shelton, Larry, Kevin, and a couple others, but that's the project team. So we went through an ITB, we got 7 bids, and we're at a bid for $6,205,000. And we'd like your approval, please. And any questions?
Can you tell us just a little bit about like when things are going to start?
Sure.
And how wonderful the building's going to be and
Purpose.
I didn't want to distract you with all of the pictures today, but yes.
Right, well, and I was going to say that this was routed before because it's 641 pages.
It was 641 pages,
Right,
and I didn't think you'd want to.
It's a rather thick set of exhibits. And also, there's a new thing because it's called the Juvenile Administration Building in the documents, but now we're calling it the Juvenile Services Building.
Yes.
So we can talk about that a little bit too.
So Troy asked for that change because it typically had been an administration building, but now we're moving a whole bunch of services into that building. Troy, do you want to talk about that, or you can come up? So I think that it's going to be just a little over 20,000 square feet. We have a bunch of services going in there. Troy can talk about that.
Troy Gregg, Juvenile Director. And so we were thinking about that piece of it, and juvenile administration kind of narrows the scope of ultimately what we're doing. And so within that building, the exciting piece for the juvenile department is that we're bringing all of our probation officers together. We're bringing the educational advocates that we have together, as well as our family support program, as well as the other services that we ultimately provide around records, and those different things around central supply for the department as a whole. And so the push on that one was it's much more than just administration. It's really the services that we're providing. And so that's why we put forth that concept to call it the Juvenile Services Building versus Juvenile Administration.
Very good. So that's going to be on the sign. Is that going to be on the contract, or is it still going to say administration on the contract?
It'll say services on the contract.
All right, very good.
So in doing that, we'll be working with Carlson Veit, who are you can see all of their architectural drawings there. Basically, there's a picture of the building that it's going to look like on there. We hope to begin excavating here. We're waiting on a stormwater permit. As soon as we get that, we're ready to go to break ground. TS Gray we're looking at breaking ground on the 30th with everyone out there. And
Do we know what time yet?
I think 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock
I think
is
it's
firm
2
now?
o'clock on the
Okay,
30th.
good.
Yes, ma'am. And then Carlson Veit, Troy, and just a team that will get together weekly to go through project updates as far as scope, schedule, budget. So we're making sure that we're all in time with that. AJ will keep us on track, along with Kevin as our project coordinator, to make sure we're doing all the things we need to be doing. And we're excited. We're excited about it. We got next steps. We'll be getting the brown grading. They'll be looking at excavating as soon as we can because we were trying to get hold of wet weather, but we didn't quite get ahead of that, but we still think we're going to be able to do that. We're looking for a fall completion, so we'll look somewhere in October completion. That will be substantial over the summer, but we'll have a fall completion, given that we got started a little later.
And is this, what method is this? We have design, build, there's different methods. So how did we do this one?
Well, we did an invitation to bid on this, so we basically had Carlson Veit help design it all. So the architects designed, Angela Flores is our primary architect. And so that's all done. These guys will come in and build it.
Okay.
So that's what that's called pretty much a design build in that sense. Okay. But we want to make sure that we're all taking equal risk on the project.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything else, Troy?
You know, I'll just add, and one, thank you guys for the opportunity to do this, and I'll let you know my staff are probably this close in believing that it's actually going to happen. They've been working a long time for this, but there's a lot of excitement at the juvenile department, and really look forward and appreciate the forethinking in kind of creating an opportunity for us to move forward and be very future-minded. So thank you guys for the opportunity.
Well, I think there was a lot of coordination that had to happen. The courts are out there figuring out how that relates together. The original building is there. We first thought the original building couldn't be rehabbed or refurbished, and then we thought it could, and then we thought it couldn't, and all of that has sort of dragged things out. But now we've got a plan and we're moving forward.
Well, just, I remember the first tour I had of it, and I put my finger through a windowsill because it was dry rotted out there. And it's great to see this. What did we spend on the court room? That's in addition to this, correct?
The courtroom was about 1.6 million.
Okay, so we're looking at close to an $8 million investment in that particular property over the 2 or 3 years of what we're doing. So again, I just want to say that I know, John, I appreciate your leadership since I've been here on the infrastructure and the investments that we're making. It's not fun stuff, but I know that Marion County will have facilities that are going to stand up for a long time because of the investments that we're making during this time with people's resources. So I feel really good about where we're going and what we're doing, and this is another one of those examples, and along with the public safety building that we just opened. And Colleen, your people have done a great job in making sure those projects are getting done on time and in budget, so thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I'll be pretty much following up on Commissioner Cameron's and a little off the subject. We'll make a motion to approve this in just a second, but one of the things I'm most proud of, and for us, and I'm going to ask John to, because he really should probably gets all the credit, but the update and facilities that we've done around the county, I call it generational. When we leave, they're set up and shouldn't have to worry about these for decades. And within cash, I call flows available, some loans, but at very low interest rates. It's been a tremendous accomplishment, and we get this done, then that'll be complete. Of course, there'll always be something else, but John, I want to...
Still that parking garage across the street.
Oh, yes. But John, thank you, and tell the county what you've done.
I haven't done anything.
I'm glad you finally admitted that.
These folks have done everything, not me. We started off after the downturn in '08. We had to really cut back. One of the things we found with old buildings is they're very expensive to maintain, very difficult to heat. And as the economy improved, we decided rather than to build new programs and expand programs that we would clean up our infrastructure. So we now have done that with the sheriff's buildings. We have a new sheriff's, what's he call it now?
Public safety.
Public safety building, okay. But it has his parole and probation folks in it, plus his leadership team and his folks that go out on the roads. Enforcement. So we've done that. We've fixed the health department building, completely renovated it inside and out. And this is the last large improvement we're going to make. We'll have all of our major facilities then upgraded, and because Colleen is going to maintain a life cycle program to keep these buildings up to spec, then I think it'll be a long time before we have to build anything, unless, I think I could see that in the long run, if the county keeps growing the way it's growing right now, we may have to add a pod to the jail, but we'll see. So,
Well, and not our preference, but Courthouse Square got
Yeah, I was gonna
upgraded.
mention-
Oh,
And
this
then, and then
building.
the courthouse, again, thanks to a gentleman that tried to drive through the front door.
yeah, my only problem with the guy that drove through the front door is he didn't take down the whole building.
Not strong.
That building is impossible to maintain, and heat and everything else. But eventually, we may get there even with that building. But we do have to do this. We have enormous problems with this parking garage over there next to the courthouse, so that's probably the next thing we'll
Well,
have to.
the original money that we split up
Yeah,
for
well.
these buildings that we're talking about today were dedicated to the parking garage, but I agree, it was a better choice, but the
But the-
parking garage still is an issue.
I mean, the county staff really deserves all the credit for this. I mean, they've worked really hard, and they've done an admirable job of keeping everything on time and on budget, and I'm really proud of them.
So with that, Madam Chair, I would make a motion, we approve the public improvement agreement with TS Gray Construction LLC in the amount of $6,205,000 for the Juvenile Services Building project.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And as I mentioned earlier, we'll skip over finance until after the public hearing and move right into Health and Human Services, number 3. Consider approval of the purchase order with Office Depot for $459,434.62 to provide delivery and installation of various furniture pieces for Phase 2 of Health and Human Services Silverton Road location, which we did not talk about just now. So, Ryan, you can fill us in
No,
on
yeah, we
what's
were
going on out on
noticeably
Silverton
absent
Road.
there. Hi, everyone. Good morning. So my name is Ryan Matthews. I'm the Administrative Services Director for Health and Human Services, and I'm here seeking approval for $459,434 for the purchase of furniture to be part of our Silverton Road Phase 2 project. So for those of you that don't know, we currently had a Silverton Road Phase 1 project that came to conclusion last spring, where we relocated our addiction treatment services into a single building that had previously been located in 2 buildings on Davcourt Street. The vision for the long-term vision for that property was to house the rest of our adult services into what is now known as Silverton Road Phase 2, and the goal there is to house services that serve the similar population all under one roof to provide not only better customer service for those seeking services in our programs, but also allow efficiencies within our programs to be able to work together and coordinate care in a more productive way. That project looks like it'll be coming to a conclusion on January 15th, and we have a move date scheduled tentatively for early February. And in order to facilitate the relocation of staff, that will be approximately 118 staff coming from 3 different separate locations. We are looking to purchase furniture and equipment that is needed to house those individuals. This is not only for staff furniture, but it'll be for records room, reception, a lot of the common area like interview rooms and conference rooms and those sorts of things. And I think the long-term goal with this Silverton Road Phase 2 project is to allow us to fully remove services from our current Lancaster location. We don't believe that meets the standards for Marion County of what we expect for our staff and for those that seek services in our buildings, and we've been looking to upgrade into something that is more reflective of the standards that we have in place with the rest of our facilities. So.
And where are the other 2 locations? One Center Street, right?
There'll be adult behavioral health will be coming from the 3rd floor at Center Street,
Right.
which will then free up space for programs, developmental disabilities to move from Lancaster into Center Street. We'll have our prevention team coming from Woodburn. because most of their services are within the Salem city limits, and so it made more sense for the staff to be located there. And then we have from one of our Beverly Suites, another adult program that will be relocating to Silverton Road.
Are we keeping the Beverly Suites generally?
We will be eliminating one
Okay.
sort of as the conclusion of all these moves. We'll be moving our children's behavioral health program also out of Lancaster into Beverly Suite and into some of our Beverly space there. And then we'll be eliminating one of the Beverly Suites kind of when all the puzzle pieces fit together.
And we're still keeping office space in Woodburn, but just not having the prevention staff
Correct.
there?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it's just located, it's a small team, and it was one that does most of their work here within the Salem-Kaiser School District and within the city limits. So and they do alcohol and drug prevention, which we felt like would make sense to locate along with our treatment services.
Okay, great. Other questions, comments?
Madam Chair, I'll move that we approve the purchase order of Office Depot for $459,434.62 to provide delivery and installation of various furniture pieces for Phase 2 of the Health and Human Services Silverton Road location.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this purchase order. Any further discussion?
Just the fact that I got a tour of the facility with the Health and Human Services Advisory Committee. Was that last meeting, I think, right? Yeah. Really nice job, and staff was happy that they were in there, and it's going to be a really nice move for us all.
Beautiful.
So it's really nice, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's
Thank you.
approved. Thanks, Ryan.
Madam Chair, hopefully this building won't flood.
Oh,
So, yeah, this is a building we're leasing though, right? So we
Yes.
have a little bit less.
But Davcor was always flooding.
All right, our last action item is under legal counsel to consider approval of a memorandum of understanding regarding divestment by Marion County and continued operation of the Oregon Gardens. So we're going to start with Jane Vetto.
Thank you. For the record, Jane Vetto, Office of Legal Counsel. This morning, we're asking the board to consider entering into a memorandum of understanding with the Oregon Garden Foundation, the City of Silverton, and Moonstone Garden Management regarding divestment by Marion County and continued operation of the garden. Just by way of background, just really briefly, in 2002, Marion County issued revenue bonds of $5 million to the garden as a loan to promote economic development. The foundation subsequently defaulted on the loan and was put into receivership. Pursuant to the terms of the receivership, it's estimated that it's going to take about 37 years for the foundation to repay its creditors, including the county. And so without further action by the county, the garden's future operation is uncertain. And so last spring, the board directed my office to draft this MOU before you. And the central provisions of it are that the county will forgive the $5 million loan in exchange for the terms that are set out in in Section D, paragraphs 4 through 10, in which the foundation, the city, and the Moonstone outline how the garden will receive future revenue through TOT and through rent that will allow it to pay off its remaining creditors and become debt-free within 10 years and become self-sustaining. This MOU would also remove the county from the second restated management agreement so that the county will no longer be on the foundation's board or have any oversight role. And there's a few other housekeeping items in the MOU as well. I note that while the county drafted the MOU, the terms were fully negotiated by all the parties. And in fact, the city, Moonstone, and the foundation have already signed this MOU. And so the terms are agreed upon. If the board enters the MOU today, my office will prepare an order for the board to adopt in which it will waive the debt owed by the OGF, and then we will file a satisfaction of debt in circuit court.
Okay, so explain that, because I was just noticing there's no signature page on the MOU for the board. So do we only sign the order, or how does that work?
I think you would direct John Latimer to sign it.
Why would we do that?
Oh, I'm sorry. So this is for the MOU. John Latimer would sign the MOU, and then I would bring an order to you within 30 days for the board to forgive the debt.
Okay.
So this MOU outlines the debt forgiveness process.
Is there any reason why you couldn't just prepare a signature page for the board to sign on this? Any legal reason?
The process is outlined in the MOU is a little bit different, but if the parties agreed, I could probably do that.
Where is the process? Talk about that.
The process under Section D, it says within 30 days of the date of this MOU is signed by all parties, Marion County Board of Commissioners will adopt an order to waive the debt.
Right, but it says the parties to the memorandum of understanding are Marion County, City of Silverton.
Yes.
It doesn't say Marion County and has to be signed by the Chief Administrative Officer.
I can amend this.
I'm just, yeah, I don't think you need to have the parties agree.
Okay.
I just think it's important enough that the board needs to be signing on to this.
Fine.
And I think John Latimer can sign as well.
Okay.
Right, so that would be my preference.
I will add that.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'd
I'd
prefer to see John give away $5 million
Right.
versus me.
Well, what we were gonna do is sign it, she said we were gonna put a stamp on the front and then the chair would just sign it.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that that's appropriate for something of this magnitude, so.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, so, Commissioner Brentano, would you like to speak before we move on with others?
Yeah, I just hope it's appropriate because I anticipate a process. Ally's there ready. So this is the end of Jane went over it pretty well, what we're trying to do. Rather than forgiveness, this is more of a restructuring and turning it into a grant, basically, for the investment. But let me just go through this and maybe it makes sense. So this has been, the Oregon Garden's been a dream and vision for many, many years. I won't go into the early history, but it was built, founded, and dream, vision, economic development, jobs, tourism, promotion, a livability feature. And it was really, the dream was to showcase especially ag here in Marion County and primarily then our nursery industry. Maybe more important than that altogether was to complement, I called it an adjunct, but it works to deal with the waste treatment, water treatment for the city of Silverton. That's a key and integral part of what the Oregon Garden does. So the question came up, I don't know whether it was at our retreat, I don't remember, but what could we do to let the garden thrive, grow, and remove Marion County from the oversight of that? And this is a culmination of that question. So how do we help them to do that? And what will our actions do? So among others, it'll take, as Jane said, take garden out of receivership, allow a process to pay back old debtors, old creditors, including the city of Silverton, which they need to get their money back into apparently their sewer funds. It'll repair the image and credit rating of the foundation. Really, they've been just a bill-paying organization, and that's a whole lot different than foundations should be, looking to find ways to, create capital and help the entity they're concerned with grow. And that hasn't been what it's done. And the credit rating is important. Apparently, foundations, organizations have a credit rating just like people do. Well, if you're in receivership and you have a huge debt load over you, that rating is as small as possible, and you don't even get looked at by the different foundations that we would normally appeal to. There's some other things, and Jane, you didn't mention them, but I hope it's included. There's Gloria will speak, I hope, in a little bit. There's been problems with the lot lines that aren't correct. It sounds minor, this should correct them, but it has to do with that growth, the ability for the resort to grow, perhaps even the garden to grow. They've talked about expanding into adjacent lands next door. I'd love to see that happen, but we need to get this all cleaned up first and set them on that foundation to do that.
There is a provision for that.
Okay,
for the
thank
county
you.
To make those adjustments.
So that didn't come out as smoothly as I wanted to, even though I took notes, and just because I can't read them. This has been a long process, and I'd say at this time, even before making a motion, I so appreciate the work. We set the groups out to find ways to come together so we could be confident when Marion County left that this doesn't just, all of our investment is lost if the garden doesn't grow and thrive. So they worked together and back and forth. I couldn't keep up with the emails. I'd come in on most Mondays and ask Jane, so where are we at? And she'd give me the current report. But in good faith, parties, city, the foundation, the resort, all work together to come up with this understanding. And yes, there still will be problems for the future, but this takes out a major roadblock, and I'm just so happy to be this close.
For the record, I'm Allison Pennell, Development Director for Oregon Garden Foundation, and I just wanted to say a word of thanks to the County Commissioners for this generous opportunity, as well as all the partners who've worked over the last few months. And I don't think it could come as a more timely time than Thanksgiving this week, because I think if you do approve this, we will all be extra thankful this year. So if anybody else wants to come up and say a few words.
Right, so who else would like to come? Gloria?
Kyle.
Kyle?
For the record, Richard McGank. I'm a foundation board member, but I'm here today primarily in my role as a volunteer. I volunteer about 100 hours a month in the garden, primarily in the horticulture department. And on behalf of the volunteers, the several hundred volunteers who spend their precious time working in the garden in all aspects, from administration to horticulture to helping with special projects, I believe that this will give them the encouragement that they need to continue in a spirit that is helping to build the garden, not only in the community of Silverton, but county-wide and even statewide. I believe that our visitation parameters have helped bring people from afar, and particularly in recent months from foreign countries to the Oregon Garden. And so we are often approached by visitors to help them understand what the garden is, and I believe now that this will reinvigorate us as a large group of volunteers to help bring this message forward. And I would like to thank all of the volunteers, particularly for the work of the commission and for the foundation members. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, John.
I think that's a good segue into what I wanted to say. This place would not be where it is today without the volunteers. I've been out there at times when actually the only people that were helping visitors were the volunteers. And they've done a great job, and the garden is what it is today thanks to those volunteers.
And speaking of an awesome volunteer, Gloria Roy is here in her new capacity.
Thank you, Gloria Roy, Oregon Garden Foundation board member. This was an opportunity that I asked the board for when I knew that there was a golden opportunity that the board was considering to really set the Oregon Garden Foundation on the path that it was intended to at the very beginning. It's really exciting because it's kind of a full circle. We have board members who are on the board now that were on the original board, that were there when they took the rototiller and put the Oregon Garden, put the outline of Oregon rototilled as the groundbreaking for the Oregon Garden. And the county has had a long involvement with it. It's kind of fun being on this side of the bench, though. But from the very beginning, with the public works helping to do the entrance, with the investment of the lottery dollars and the economic development dollars, which has been found by the court to be legitimate economic development. And when you're up in the Silverton area, you really see that. And you see how the area has grown from the resort and the events that are held at the garden. And really, it's an exciting time and a very good opportunity for the foundation and for the garden, for the city of Silverton. and the resort and our other partners with the management company. There is a lot of work that needs to be done, but this frees up the foundation to actually do it, gives us a lot more opportunities to go get some grants and to be more successful at getting that and to focus on that and not be just a debtor organization that it has been for so long. It's a very complicated situation. It's taken a little longer to untangle some of the pieces than we'd hoped, but it's really right there. And I'd also like to specifically note the involvement that John Latimer has had over the years. When this garden first got into trouble, it was John, on behalf of the county, that really helped come up with a solution. And this now is the rewards that that has brought. And so we're very thankful, like Ali said, of this opportunity from the county.
Thanks, Gloria. It's good to see you again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mary McNatt, Oregon Garden Foundation board member and currently chair. I had quite a few remarks that I was going to make today, but frankly, we have talked about this subject for so long in the last 9 months that I think I'm just going to say thank you very much. Your support and vision for the future of the Oregon Garden, the forgiveness of this debt, really will allow the foundation to continue to promote the Oregon Garden. It's well worth all of our efforts, and we so appreciate your foresight and your support. Thank you.
Good morning. Excuse me. For the record, my name is Christine Diacetis. I'm the regional manager for Moonstone Hotels, and I'm here representing Moonstone Garden Management. I wanted to thank the commissioners in the county today for your partnership. Throughout the years, I've been with the organization for 10 years, and honestly, in 2008, when I joined, I didn't know what I was getting into. It became very clear after a few years, and I can say that throughout all of that time, through some of our trying times, we always felt that the county were excellent and trusted partners in this endeavor, and we have so appreciated everything, particularly John has done in working with us to try and keep the thing going, as well as certainly the support of the commissioners. And to both Sam and John's sentiments about making sure that we are structuring an agreement that is going to allow the garden to thrive and move forward, I look back to times that I have come before the commissioners as the only representative of the Oregon Garden on behalf of both the foundation and Moonstone Garden Management. And today we can look and we can see a whole slew of people here that I know are just as invested and dedicated as we are. And so I feel like I can certainly reassure all of you that it is in very good hands. I feel that more than ever, and the significant investment that you are making now will not be squandered. So we appreciate the attention and the help. Thank you.
Morning. For the record, my name's Kyle Palmer. I'm the mayor of the city of Silverton, and it's my pleasure this morning to be here representing the council and our city and the community and, frankly, the region that benefits from the Oregon Garden. Much has been said already this morning that I don't need to repeat, but suffice it to say that we've enjoyed no greater partner than Marion County in preserving the Oregon Garden as a facility, as a tourist destination. From the city standpoint, excuse me, a vital part of our wastewater treatment process, as Commissioner Venteno mentioned. Moving forward, I'd really like to thank everybody, the county staff, all of the commission, our behalf, the work that you've done to preserve this, but not just to preserve it. As was said earlier, there was a long, dark tunnel of death that we were looking at, that the Oregon Garden Foundation has been looking at. And this action that you're considering this morning will allow the Oregon Garden Foundation to come out of that hole and serve the garden itself in a more productive manner that, frankly, many of us thought probably wouldn't happen in our lifetime. So it's really with our deepest gratitude that we thank you for considering this morning, and especially Commissioner Bentano, who's been a driving force and vision in most of this year to push us towards this agreement and urge us to get this thing done. And I appreciate your patience. I know we missed your June 1st deadline by a few days, but
excuse me, it was Valentine's Day. I was going to comment on that.
Okay.
Still looking for my card.
Yeah, but here we are. It is done, and thank you so much for consideration of this today.
So, Mayor Palmer, could you just speak for a minute, just for my benefit? So the council's actually voted on this, discussed this, and so they're unanimous in their agreement that Silverton wants to kind of take this on as being the major jurisdiction. Is that correct?
Yes. The council absolutely recognizes the value of the Oregon Garden in our community as a Silverton tourist destination, of course also as a regional tourist destination, and we are united. Of course, we do have a new councilor coming on in January. I can't speak to her opinion on it, but the current council is certainly united behind this development.
Thank you. Just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you.
Anyone else that wanted to speak that hasn't come up yet? Christy, did you want to come up? Tammy? No? John?
I'm not sure that I should be given any credit for anything, since I'm the one that convinced the board to put the foundation in receivership. And so, but it's been a long part of, once we got the receivership in place, we spent a lot of time with putting together the management agreements that kept the thing moving, kept the thing working. And that was the hard part of it in the long run. The receivership went pretty easy. So I was concerned about the county's bond because the bonds were sold by the county, and we didn't want to have that, if we didn't want to default on those bonds and ruin our credit rating. So that's where I was concerned, and frankly, I'm glad I did it because it's worked out very well. Thank you all.
So just to add to that, I remember vividly, as if it were yesterday, the day when John came and said, "I'll be darned," but we just got word through finance that Oregon Garden is no longer able to pay on the bonds, and we kind of like, what are we going to do? So it was a very long path to get to here today. And the other vivid recollection I have is that when we sat down to figure it out, Gloria, who was then our legal counsel, outlined the agreement between Silverton, Marion County, and the garden. And it was, I think, 3 different whiteboard sections, and it was the most complicated thing I had ever seen in my whole life. And when people asked me about it, I said, I can't tell you what it is, but I just know that Gloria outlined it, and it was like on 3 different whiteboard sections. It was just crazy. So hopefully this will make things more straightforward, more streamlined, easier, as you're mentioning, for the foundation to actually do the work that it was assigned to do many years ago, and has struggled with that work for a long time.
Madam Chair, if I may, I wasn't here when you all went through that, but I will, it's going to be a little emotional because I remember going to the Oregon Garden because my mom was one of those founding supporters. She's no longer with us, but I remember going out there for meetings and parties and all kinds of things when it seemed like it was just like on fire when it first started going on. She was passionate. She was a American Daffodil Society president at one point in time and loved gardening. And I'm sorry, but Sam, she must have passed that passion on to you and your flowers because I didn't get it. But I've said this, that I think that this is an investment. It's our lottery dollars that have been going into this over the years, and it's great that we can put a mark here today and say this is an investment that we're making, that we talked about for the last, year and a half or 2 years when we came up with the idea with Gloria and John and all of us sitting in a room to make this happen. And I've said this, it is the Oregon Garden, and we're proud to have it in Marion County, but we need to, from here forward, we need to make sure that Oregon understands it's their garden, and we get those people invested in it and continue to find a way to sustain it throughout our state, because it's a great asset for our entire state, not only for the city of Silverton and Marion County, but for our state, to bring people here. And then the last thing I want to say is I want to thank Sam, because he has been there, and I know he goes for the food in those meetings over there, but he's been there for my 4.5 years on the board now, all the time following this thing, and for your work, Commissioner, in supporting the staff that has led to this point. So I'm just really thankful that we're here today, and looking forward to the future, and that this investment we're making today will catapult the Oregon Garden into a place that it is, and the beautiful thing that it should be in the future for our community and for our state. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you. So, Madam Chair, if I could, it would delight me to make a motion that we approve a memorandum of understanding and sign it regarding the divestment by Marion County and continued operation of the Oregon Garden.
And I'll second your motion, Commissioner.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I want to thank everyone who came here today. I know you've each had your individual roles in making this happen, and will certainly have very critical roles in moving this forward in the future. I also want to thank Jane, who jumped in kind of at the 11th hour without all the background of knowing what was going on, and helped get us to this point. So thank you, Jane, for the work that you've done. So any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's approved. Thank you. So we will now, do you want to take like just a couple minute break, and then we'll open our public hearing on the second supplemental, on the first supplemental budget? We are back. We will reconvene the board session and open a public hearing. This is a public hearing under Finance to consider adopting the first supplemental budget for fiscal year 2018-19. Debbie Gregg has been waiting patiently through almost an hour's worth of items here and is ready to walk us through the first supplemental budget. Good morning.
Good morning. Debbie Gregg, Budget and Grants Manager. Yeah, you mentioned budget and the room cleared. I don't know what happened there. I'm just kidding.
we still love you, Debbie.
Oh, thanks. Oh.
We love budgets.
I do love budgets. That's why I'm here. In accordance with local budget law and the county policies, I am here to present, as you mentioned, the first supplemental budget for fiscal year 18-19. This supplemental budget actually is increasing the budget by approximately $14.7 million. Again, the majority of that is our net working capital adjustment, and that is just to recognize the carryover net working capital and adjusting that to actual numbers. This supplemental budget was posted on a public notice on November 15th in Statesman Journal, and has been available for the public to review, both in the board's office and also online on the county website. There has been one change. We met with the commissioners a few weeks ago to discuss the supplemental budget in detail during a management update, and there's been one update since then, or one change since that meeting. So the Community Services Grant Fund increased for revenues that were received during the Marion County Reentry Initiative breakfast. So we adjusted that fund to recognize those revenues, and those revenues were allocated to direct client services. So that is the one adjustment that was made since that management update. I just briefly wanted to go over a few of the funds that had the more significant changes. Specifically, the general fund, it increased almost 1.3 million, again, mostly due to net working capital. And those funds were allocated to juvenile department, 157,000, and that's for personnel costs for an additional FTE for a program supervisor, and then some costs associated with market reviews for positions. And then also some of those funds were allocated to transfers out, about $1 million, and again, majority of that was going to the Capital Improvement Project Fund for some projects for that fund. And then also a transfer to the Central Service Fund, specifically for information technology, a new position, accounting position, that they were approved in that department. The Capital Improvement Project Fund increased almost $2.5 million, and those funds were allocated to capital outlay. Some of that was reappropriating some projects that were not completed last year and will be completed this year. And then also some new and modified projects since we did the budget. And some of those projects have to do with assessor's pictometry, courthouse security camera matrix, some improvements to Health and Human Services buildings, Beverly Suite, and landscaping, and also the jail camera project. Environmental Services Fund had an increase of $2.6 million, again, due to the adjustment of net working capital. And those funds were allocated to materials and services, capital outlay, and then a majority of are being placed in contingency. Facility Renovation Fund actually had a decrease in that fund, and approximately $1.8 million. That was just due to the completion of the Sheriff's Office Public Safety Building. Health and Human Services Fund increased to $2.4 million. Again, those costs are being allocated to personal services. Their FTE increased 4.1 for various positions in youth rental assistance, transitional treatment and recovery, and developmental disability services. They've got a transfer out increase of $314,000 to the CIP fund, and again for those building improvements and landscaping. And the remaining of those funds are being allocated to contingency and unappropriated ending fund balance. And finally, Public Works Fund had an increase of $3.9 million, net working capital mostly, and those funds are being allocated to personal services for a new management analyst position and some other personnel costs. Some materials and service increases for ferry boat parts and radio, public work radios. Capital outlay for $1.2 million, again for reappropriating some existing projects and also some additional and new and modified projects. And the remaining amount is allocated to contingency and unappropriated and fund balance. And all the detail of those changes are in the narrative within the supplemental budget packet. So you have a resolution before you, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Debbie. So I remember asking a question about the Justice Reinvestment alignment.
Yes.
And I did talk to Jeff Wood, and he said that nothing, it was more a fund adjustment. It didn't have anything to do with how the dollars were being spent according to the plan. Is that your information?
That is true, yes. There was no modification to that grant agreement. It's more just a realignment, budget realignment for the remaining grant funding that we're expecting this year. That grant's over 2 years, and so we just had to true up some budget figures.
Great, okay. Sounds good. Any other questions on the supplemental budget? And as you mentioned, we did spend a lot of time going through that at management update and asked a lot of questions at that time. So, and appreciate the work that you did with community services to get all those ins and outs. So
yes,
breakfast, it was a little complicated this year, but
but we got it nailed down.
We got it figured out.
Yeah, appreciate all the work, and I know we did go through this in detail. So if you'd like a motion, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'll move that we close the public hearing and approve a resolution to adopt the first supplemental budget for fiscal year 2018-19.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution that adopts the first supplemental budget. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 That is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that concludes our business for today. I will read our Wednesday to Wednesday calendar. These are meetings between November 21st and November 28th, where 2 or 3 commissioners will be present. We're just concluding our regular Wednesday board session, today, November 21st. And tomorrow is Thanksgiving, if people weren't aware of that. I think most people are going to be eating a lot of food tomorrow. And I saw the health department had on Facebook a lot of places where there are Thanksgiving dinners for the community being done, so that's great.
Sales on romaine lettuce, I hear.
So we will be closed, the county will be closed in observance of that holiday. Monday, November 26th, the day starts with calendar review at 8:30, management update at 9, a BOC-CAO meeting with an executive session if needed at 11, and all of those meetings in the Silverton Conference Room. At 2 o'clock on Monday is a special meeting of the East Salem Service District. It says Silverton Conference Room. I'm thinking we may need to move to a larger room depending on, since we've put notice out to the public, we'll see. But we'll have to work with our staff on that. But if people come to that and they come to the board office, they'll direct them to the appropriate conference room. Also, it's not on the calendar, but at 3:30 there is a reentry housing meeting where 2 commissioners may be present. And I believe that will be in the Silverton Conference Room as well. Then on Tuesday, November 27th at 8:30 in the morning is our monthly Community Corrections Board meeting in the Silverton Conference Room, followed by our regular board meeting of the Marion County Housing Authority at 10:30. Also in the Silverton Conference Room at noon on the 27th is the Marion County Public Safety Coordinating Council Steering Committee in the Silverton Conference Room. And then at 1:30 is the Marion County Reentry Initiative Design Team, and this says Silverton Conference Room, but I believe it will be held in the Commissioner's Boardroom. Then on November 28th, Wednesday, we are back in the Senator Hearing Room at 9 a.m. for our regular Wednesday board session. So what is new that you want to talk about today? Anything fun?
Thanksgiving's always fun.
Great.
Football, food.
Yeah. Going anywhere fun?
No, people, family, grandkids coming to my house. I have only one duty, and it sounds so simple, but now I'm sorry I said I would, but I think I can recreate Grandma Mary's gravy, but I don't know that I can. But
It's an important thing, ingredient.
well, I know white kind of chicken gravy. Oh, it's so good, but
Chicken
I'll
gravy?
try. Yeah,
Chicken
well,
gravy,
we're
not
using
turkey.
Turkey, but fine. It's all kind of
Your chickens are really big, they look like turkeys.
probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm a little nervous, but you hope for the best, and if not, Tammy's already told me she has packaged gravy available, so that's my only task.
Well, very good.
Well, I'll give a report next week.
Okay.
Why don't you bring some of that gravy in so we can taste it?
If it's good, I will. So perhaps I won't.
So Christian is flying in this afternoon. I'm going to go up to the airport and pick him up. And for the last several years, the 3 of us, my husband, myself, and Christian, and my sister, go over to my mom's assisted living facility for Thanksgiving. And they host a very large Thanksgiving dinner for all the relatives on Saturday before Thanksgiving. A whole 9 yards, stuffing and turkey and ham. And we were at that. But then many times, either people leave to go to homes on Thanksgiving, or if they stay, they just have already had their Thanksgiving celebration. So a few years ago, when we went, they served a pulled pork sandwich, which Christian was very unhappy with.
Oh, I like the sandwich.
Because he was expecting Thanksgiving dinner. And I was thinking we were going to have Thanksgiving dinner there, so I didn't prepare anything. And I was in the doghouse for that. So now I'm buying the turkey, we're doing the stuffing and everything for dinner after we go to my mother's. And this year, they're having manicotti. So.
Oh, wow.
So, as my husband says, happy Thanksgiving. So that will be our Thanksgiving. And then my son is in Dallas, and they usually do their own thing. And my daughter in Boise, except the big tradition with us is my mother's stuffing, which when I was very first elected as a commissioner that first year, they actually asked us for Thanksgiving recipes. And we were featured in this section of the newspaper and with a picture, and I had Grandmama's famous stuffing. And we moved, as you know.
Will you tell me how it came out so good to give me hope for my endeavor?
It's fabulous
Oh, good.
stuffing, but I saved her handwritten recipe, and it was in a box where I had all of my most important things, like checkbooks and passports. her stuffing recipe goes in that
Really?
box. Right, yeah, exactly.
That's-
So last weekend I was like, oh, what did I do with the recipe? And there it was, and I found it and pulled it out, and it's sitting up. But you use stuffing mix, but she puts in golden delicious apples, celery, and it's really,
Now,
really
that
yummy.
may need a sample, Commissioner Cameron. I
Yeah,
think
very
that's
good.
legitimate
Yeah,
food there.
are you making that, Commissioner?
I am making that.
If my
Yeah.
gravy,
With
we
your
can make
gravy
this-
and
what
her
is-
stuffing,
the
I could have
history
that for
goes
lunch
on,
on
yes.
Monday.
Perhaps, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, last year I got hometown buffet, and
Oh.
Christian was very unhappy with that.
So will this be melancholy? Is this the last Oregon Thanksgiving? Do you wanna get sad about that?
Probably.
See? And that won't be the same. I don't care about Boise a whole lot, just if you really
Yeah.
wanna know. Just to tell you.
So-
Mine is, my aunt and uncle are here in town from Arizona, and my dad and his wife, and we're gonna have Thanksgiving dinner. They're having it at 5 o'clock. It's way too late. I'm hungry, like by 1 or 2, but a friend of mine says, well, all you want to do is fall asleep after you eat a big meal anyway, so you might as well have it later and then fall asleep.
I'm not real pleased with that. I'd be making a change.
5 o'clock's too late for you?
Well, what are you gonna do? You
Right.
probably have to eat
Right, I'm
something.
gonna have to have a brunch or something.
just not right.
And we're doing that up in Wilsonville, and then that's Thursday, and then Friday. Of course, we didn't make any rude comments about our attire today.
Well, I think we're being ignored. You wanna know the
You've
truth?
been wearing
Right.
the same tie all week. I noticed that.
It's
I noticed that yesterday.
I use another term, but I'm not gonna say it on the microphone, but it is Beaver Appreciation Week. How's
Is that nice?
Right? The Civil War is on Friday.
How many Facebook likes do we have by now?
We
Just kinda
actually,
curious.
in
We
fact,
should be in the
for
hundreds.
anybody
It
who's-
should be like 1,000.
For anybody who's watching, we've got, let's see, Sam. We've got, it looks like, wow, 57 so far and a whole bunch of comments.
So like in an hour and a half,
Yeah.
so we're probably talking 1,000 eventually, end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah.
Is that record?
I don't know. We could have.
Any comment that you want to pass on?
Well, some people say we look really cute.
Oh,
You both look very handsome.
thank you.
Even with those ugly ties on.
Oh.
Go Ducks. How about that?
Jane,
here's
how
one
did you get that in?
Here's one from a friend that
Okay.
says, grasp that straw with all 4 hands, gentlemen, meaning we're hoping, right? Right?
So what is this?
Oh, we put this on Facebook, and it says, it has a picture of us. It says, in hopes
I
that
missed
truth
that.
and decency prevail on Friday, go Beavers. So anyways, on Friday, I will have both my girls and my 3 grandsons and 2 dogs and husband up at the lake, and we'll watch the game
Watch the
and
game
do
there.
chili and potatoes, and then Saturday, I'm doing a prime rib dinner for the girls. Yeah, so it'll be a busy and fun weekend with my grandsons, 3, 2, and 6 weeks old now. So it'll be busy.
It is a special time.
It is. I love
Finally,
it.
I don't know what it's doing outside right now, but the first rain in a little bit. I see some rivers supposed to, not dangerous, but finally rise to where they should be.
Some
You
snow
know,
in the mountains.
The one serious thing, it came up kind of briefly in management update, but one of the thoughts I've had after the Paradise fires is how we're not so different. When I look up, I live in Sublimity, when I look at those communities and that forest interface, and we did some things about a decade ago to take off fuel load and give thoughts to wildfire plans. I really think we should be giving that a more serious look, or we could find ourselves in the same.
That's just such a sad situation down there.
Absolutely.
I was down there a couple of weekends ago, and went to,
You were in Paradise actually, or just in that area?
well, no, I was down in Southern Cal, and I went to the Coliseum for a football game, and I didn't realize it, but a couple of people I was with started wheezing and coughing, and I looked down at my phone and looked at the weather, and it said that the air quality in LA was hazardous, and so people were starting to react to it because the smoke. And now I guess the article I read this week, the smoke is even actually up into Oregon. from those
Oh,
fires.
it has been. I saw it
New
last
York, it
weekend.
said. It's
Really?
actually gone in an arc. I saw it on Facebook last night. So it's gone northward and in kind of a arc, I guess you want to call it.
And not to
And
mention-
then all the way across southern United States then to New York.
I lived in Marysville for a little while.
My
Did
dad
you
lived in
feel
Oroville.
vulnerable at that time?
Well, I'm just saying how close that was to Chico, from wherever that is.
And we had some task force from Oregon, Marion County in particular, down there doing good things. That should be noted too.
Yeah, who was it we just saw yesterday? Oh, Steve, from our parks guy.
Yes.
Was down there fighting the fires, yeah.
And I posted a couple articles that I saw on Facebook about fires and the connection to climate change versus forest management and some of the comments that have been made. And it's interesting because, the article came out prior to this fire. It was talking about an earlier fire in California. And it was talking about this history of neglect of the forests and how it just this tinderbox and just lights up at a moment's notice. And someone wrote and said, well, that's not true of this fire. And I'm like,
Well,
how is
yes.
that not true of this fire? So,
Well, this is just what I'm talking about. What can we do to remove that fuel load and the vulnerability that we could have even here? I shouldn't be talking long. I have people waiting for me, so I do
All right.
wish you the very best.
we wish everyone a
Thanksgiving.
happy Thanksgiving.
And I really like Boise. I just thought I'd get a rise out of it. All I got was a dirty look.
You know, I'm so used to your comments about France over all these years that this just falls
Comments
in
about
line.
what?
France.
France?
Yes.
Oh,
La France.
La France.
Right.
Joe Stonecipher and Janet sang them. It's a Marseille.
Well, Marseillaise. Right.
Terrible.
You know, I taught French. Allons enfants.
Get over. I'm sorry. This meeting's adjourned.
All right.
I'm
So,
sure.
all right, we will adjourn.